comes to your mind when you hear the word tax or taxation? Is it funds, finance, money, or budget? Well, in that case, you got it right.
Taxation has been around us for as long as we can remember. Its existence even dates back to the ancient times where pharaohs collected harvests and properties from their citizens. But before anything else, let us first define taxes. It is said that taxes are the lifeblood of our government. Its existence is a necessity that the government cannot continue without means to pay its expenses, and that for this means, it has the right to compel all its citizens within its limit to contribute. Taxes are proportional contributions from citizens and property collected by the state as part of its sovereignty for its financing of government and all public necessities. The term tax is widely used to refer to all types of monetary exactions that become public funds. The power to tax is the authority by which the sovereign, through its legislative body, raises revenue to defray the government's necessary expenses. Taxation is the method used to collect tax contributions. The power of taxation is performed by the state through the national legislature or Congress. The basis of taxation is found in the reciprocal duty of protection and support between the state and its citizens, wherein the taxpayer receives government benefits and protection in exchange for his proportional contribution to the maintenance of the government. Good day, sir. Sir, why do you think it is important to pay your taxes on time?
Good day everyone, I'm Erlion S. Catalina, and to answer your question, I think it is important to emphasize the legal and ethical obligations of paying taxes on time. So failure to pay taxes can result to legal consequences such as tax fines, tax penalties, or even imprisonment in extreme cases. Moreover, taxes are the primary source of funds for government services such as infrastructure, education, and healthcare. So these timely tax payments help maintain the economic stability by providing the government the necessary funds required to carry out its duties and functions. All in all, paying taxes on time is a fundamental civic duty that ensures legal compliance and supports public services, which greatly contributes to the well-being of the society as a whole.
What is the scope of taxation? It includes all income earned in the taxing state, whether by citizens or aliens, and all immovable and tangible personal properties found in its territory, as well as tangible personal property owned by persons domiciled therein or subject to its power. Who exercises the power of taxation? The power of taxation cannot be delegated. This contemplates the power to determine the kind, object, extent, amount, coverage, and situs of tax. It must be distinguished from the power to assess and collect, which is exercised by the executive through the Bureau of Internal Revenue. Taxation is inherently and exclusively vested in the legislative. Hence, it cannot be delegated, as manifested by the Latin maxim, delegata potestas non potest delegare. However, it may be exceptionally delegated when, first, the delegation shall not contravene any constitutional provision or inherent limitations of taxation. Second, it is effected either by the Constitution or by validly enacted legislative measure or statute. And third, except when expressly provided by the Constitution, it should only be in favor of the local legislative body of the local or municipal government concerned. However, there are also exceptions to the exceptions. First, delegation to local governments. It is in line with the principle that the power to create municipal corporations for purposes of local self-government carries with it the power to confer the power to tax on such local governments. Second, delegation to the President. Certain aspects of the taxing process that are not legislative in character may be vested to him. For example, delegation of tariff powers by Congress to the President under the Flexible Tariff Clause, and delegation of emergency powers. And lastly, we have the delegation to the administrative agencies. These are authorized to fix within specified limits, tariff rates, import or export quotas, tonnage and wharfage dues, and other duties or imports.
Now, let us talk about the limitations on the power of taxation concerning due process. Due process and taxation. Taxation is bound by the rules of due process similar to all other government powers. As a general rule, taxes are prohibited if they are confiscatory, except when they are intended for destruction in the exercise of police power. For example, a tax that demands overly excessive portions of one's income would be abusive and is tantamount to a deprivation of his property without due process of law. In the same vein, a tax that retroacts 60 years back is unrealistic and oppressive, as the property may not have been previously owned by the taxpayer. From a procedural aspect, due process does not require any prior notice and hearing before a law authorizing for fixed or specific taxes on items to be enacted. However, when the tax is to be based on the value of the taxable property or ad valorem, a taxpayer has the right to be given notice on the assessment proceedings and to know about the proper valuation of the property. Here, if due process fails to be observed, taxes according to the value of the property may be unjustly increased against the taxpayer, since the government unilaterally holds the knowledge of the appraisal of such properties.
Next, let us talk about equal protection and taxation.
Taxation is also bound to the requirements of equal protection. Paragraph 1, Section 28, Article 6 of the 1987 Constitution provides that the rule of taxation shall be uniform and equitable. What does uniform mean? Uniformity in taxation simply connotes that persons and things belonging to the same classification should be taxed at the same rate regardless of their value. For example, if alcoholic beverages are classified into local and imported, the rule of uniformity is observed when all alcoholic beverages of local origin shall be priced at the same rate regardless of value, and all alcoholic beverages of imported origin shall be priced at the same rate also regardless of value. Equality in taxation, as distinguished from uniformity, connotes that taxes shall be proportional to the relative value of the property. For example, despite two parcels of land of an equal area being taxed at the same rate, if one is located in a small municipality while the other is in a progressive city, the former shall be taxed less, while the latter shall be taxed more. Depending on the relative value of the property, higher taxes may be imposed on one person or thing compared to the other. Apart from uniformity, the aforementioned provision also speaks of equity in taxation. Equitable taxation means that taxes should be based on the people's capacity to pay.
Now, let's move forward to double taxation. The power to tax twice, it was said, is as ample as to tax once. While double taxation is generally frowned upon in the Philippines by the state and taxpayers alike, the same is not entirely illegal and prohibited except if under a particular circumstance. Such double taxation is violative of any constitutional limitation of the power to tax. But what is double taxation? There is double taxation when additional taxes are laid on the same subject by the same taxing jurisdiction during the same taxing period and for the same purpose. Thus, if a person's properties are each taxed separately and all of them are again taxed, this time collectively by the same taxing jurisdiction for the same purpose and during the same taxing period, the second imposition would amount to double taxation. In the case of Punzalan versus Municipal Board of Manila, the defendant levied an additional tax of 25 pesos on professionals practicing in Manila who were already paying the 50 pesos occupation tax required under the revised Internal Revenue Code. The second tax was contested by the petitioners as double taxation, and they demanded its cancellation. Double taxation won't be permitted even though it isn't specifically forbidden if it violates the Equal Protection Clause. So, the owners of the first properties would have the right to complain if certain properties are subject to an additional tax while others that are similarly situated are not. In the Punzalan case, the petitioners claimed that because other professionals who practiced elsewhere were not subject to the additional tax, they were victims of discrimination. The Supreme Court disagreed, stating that there was a significant difference between them and other professionals because professionals in Manila might anticipate earning more money than those in the other parts of the country. Now, if you're wondering what the purpose of taxation is and why the government imposes taxation, don't you worry because I'm here to give you a thorough explanation about it. To sustain a tax, it is necessary to show that the proceeds are devoted to a public purpose. Like public use in eminent domain, the definition of public purpose as applied to taxation has recently been expanded to encompass even indirect public advantages or benefits. If there is a connection to the welfare of the public, the simple fact that the private individual will directly benefit from the tax does not render it invalid. As a result, pensions given to veterans of war are justified because they will inspire others to imitate their efforts, knowing that their patriotism will be recognized and rewarded by a grateful government. Of course, projects like building roads and bridges, constructing schools, museums, parks, and playgrounds, establishing public structures and maintaining government services, in general, provide the most obvious examples of public purpose because they directly benefit and enhance the lives of the people.
Tax exemptions are the corollary power that is used for public purpose, uniform and equitable, and in conformity with the Equal Protection Clause. It is granted gratuitously and may be revoked at will, except when it was granted for valuable consideration. Tax exemptions are either constitutional or statutory. The constitutional exemption from taxes is provided for in paragraph 3, section 28 of Article 6 of the Constitution. Charitable institutions, churches, and parsonages or convents appurtenant thereto, mosques, non-profit cemeteries, and all lands, buildings, and improvements actually, directly, and exclusively used for religious, charitable, or educational purposes shall be exempt from taxation. On the other hand, statutory exemptions are those that have been passed by the majority of the members of Congress in concurrence with paragraph 4, section 28 of Article 6 of the Constitution, which states that no law granting any tax exemptions shall be passed without the concurrence of the majority of all the members of the Congress.
Now, what comes to your mind when you hear the words taxes or taxation?
I hope you were able to learn all about tax and taxation, its scope, and its purpose. For more informational videos like this, please like, subscribe, and share this video to your friends, classmates, and loved ones. Bye!